I stood outside my mom's house, 8 months pregnant, holding nothing but a thin blanket around my shoulders. The porch light above me flickered, casting long, jumpy shadows across the steps. The night wind cut through my dress, and I could feel the cracked concrete under my swollen feet. Then the door slammed shut. "Dogs don't deserve beds," my mom hissed through the screen. She didn't even look me in the eye. Just turned and walked away like I wasn't even human. Like I was some mutt who'd wandered too close to her porch. I didn't cry right away. I couldn't. My body was stiff from carrying so much, my baby and the weight of shame. It wasn't supposed to be like this. When he left, I had nowhere else to go. The moment I told my boyfriend I was pregnant, he disappeared. Blocked my number. Vanished like I was a bad dream. I didn't have a job. My friends had moved away. So I called the one person I thought might still care, my mom. She said I could come home. But I didn't realize what home meant now. The room that used to be mine? Gone. Given to my little sister, Natalie, who just started college and deserved peace to study. I was told I could sleep in the sunroom, which meant a couch that smelled like old dog hair and a floor full of crumbs. But even that didn't last. That night, Natalie came home late, tipsy, with her friends giggling behind her. They said I made the place awkward. So Mom kicked me out to the porch. Said, "If you wanted comfort, maybe you shouldn't have opened your legs." I stood there, shaking. I still remember the neighbor across the street, Mrs. Blake, walking her dog past the gate. She stopped, looked at me, then looked away quickly. But not fast enough for me to miss the look of pity in her eyes. I wanted to scream, to yell, "No! This isn't who I am. I'm not trash." But I just pulled the blanket tighter around my shoulders and sat down on the cold step. My belly ached. My back burned. I leaned against the porch rail and closed my eyes, trying not to feel the tears that were sliding down my face. Everything hurt. My body. My pride. My heart. I had come home thinking I'd find safety. That maybe, just maybe, my mother would see I was scared. Alone. About to bring a life into this world. But instead, she treated me like I was nothing. Less than nothing. A stray dog. As I curled up, trying to get some sleep under that flickering light, I kept whispering to myself, "This is temporary. It has to be temporary." I didn't know then how long temporary would be, or how far someone would go to make sure I stayed broken. But I made a promise that night, without even realizing it. I wouldn't forget this moment. Not the cold. Not the shame. Not her words. Because someday, she was going to eat them. I woke up sore the next morning, still on the porch, with ants crawling near my feet and my back stiff from the cold. Inside, I could hear laughter. Dishes clinking. Music playing. It was Natalie. My sister had friends over. Again. That morning, I walked into the kitchen, hoping maybe, just maybe, someone would ask if I was okay. If I needed a glass of water. If I had even slept. But all I got was a fake smile from Natalie and an eye roll from my mom. "Don't stink up the house," she said, waving a hand at me like I was a cloud of smoke. "Go clean yourself up outside. You're dripping everywhere." I looked down. My ankles were swollen, my face puffy. Pregnancy wasn't kind to me. And there was a little patch of sweat down my back from trying to sleep in 90-degree heat. "Can I just use the bathroom?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer, just pointed to the backyard. So I went. I stood there by the garden hose, turning it on slowly. I bent forward to rinse my feet off and maybe splash some water on my face. But before I could even blink, cold, sharp water hit me full in the back. I gasped. Spun around. My mom was holding the hose, grinning. "There. Now you're clean." Natalie and her friend stood at the sliding door, laughing like it was a comedy show. I didn't say a word. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. My mouth was open, but no words came out. It wasn't just the cold water. It was everything. How did I become the joke? Natalie had gotten pregnant once, 2 years ago, by a guy she dated for less than a month. But my mom threw her a baby shower.
Pink balloons. Custom cake.
Even one of those stupid diaper cakes people post on Instagram. And when she miscarried 2 weeks later, the whole house mourned. Flowers, candles, soft piano music playing in the background for days. She was treated like royalty, like a queen.
Me?
I get a hose in the back, and no one even asks if my baby is okay. Later that day, I sat under the porch awning, towel wrapped around me, shivering. I heard them talking through the window. "She's just jealous," Natalie said. "She's always been the dramatic one," Mom replied. "Some people don't deserve to be mothers. God knows she'll screw it up." I pressed my hands over my ears, but I still heard every word. And in that moment, something inside me started to shift. I used to think maybe I could fix it. That if I just tried harder, stayed quieter, made myself smaller, they'd stop hating me.
But now?
Now I was starting to see things for what they were. They didn't want me to grow. They wanted me to break. And if I was going to survive this, I'd have to stop begging them to love me. That afternoon, the house was quiet. Mom had taken Natalie out for lunch, something fancy downtown. I knew because Natalie made sure to announce it with a loud, "We won't be back for hours." I waited 10 minutes, then crept inside. Every step felt like I was walking on glass. I tiptoed down the hall, past the bedroom that used to be mine. The door was painted pink now, with Natalie's name on a glittery sign. I didn't care about the sign. I just needed 5 minutes. Just long enough to grab my old journal and the photo I kept inside it. My ultrasound photo. The only proof I had that my baby was real. That I was doing something that mattered. The journal was in my old nightstand, bottom drawer, beneath an old t-shirt. I opened it slowly, hands shaking. There it was. That blurry little bean-shaped body. My baby. I ran my fingers over the image. I don't know why, but I whispered, "You're safe. Mama's got you." Then something strange caught my eye. A folded paper, stuffed deep in the drawer, like it had been crumpled and shoved away in a hurry. I unfolded it. It was an email. From Derek. My ex. My breath caught. It was a printed email from him to my mom. He wrote, "I want to be there. I want to support her. If she wants me around, I'll stay. Just let me talk to her." But then, underneath, another message. This one was from my mom, her reply. "Don't bother. She doesn't want you. She regrets everything. We'll handle it from here. And for your sake, walk away. If you stay, she'll trap you. She's not your responsibility." My knees buckled. I sank to the floor. The journal slipped from my hand, the ultrasound picture fluttering out and landing face down. My mom lied. She never told me Derek reached out. She let me think he abandoned me. She made me carry this pain alone, on purpose. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to cry. But instead, I just sat there. Frozen. I looked at the photo again. Now it was smudged. The corner torn. I held it close, whispering, "I'm so sorry, baby. I should have known. I should have protected you from all of this." That evening, when they got back, I waited. I stood in the kitchen while my mom unpacked leftovers from fancy boxes. And I asked, voice steady, "Why did you lie to me about Derek?" She didn't flinch, just closed the box lid, and said, "Because you weren't meant to be a mother. You couldn't even keep him. That should tell you something." Then she walked past me, like I didn't exist. And that was it. That was the moment something snapped. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was angry. Not loud, messy anger. Not the kind that breaks dishes. The quiet kind. The kind that builds. The kind that remembers. Because now I knew the truth. She hadn't just hurt me. She chose to. The pain started like a cramp. Just a dull tightening across my belly. I thought maybe it was from skipping dinner again. Mom had forgotten to leave me a plate. Again. So I sat on the porch steps, holding my sides, breathing through the discomfort. But it kept getting worse. Stronger. Sharper. Like something inside me was pulling apart. I tried to stand, but my knees gave out. I clutched the porch railing and cried out. That's when I felt it, warmth running down my legs.
Blood.
Panic shot through me. Not just fear, but terror. I was 8 months pregnant. This wasn't supposed to be happening. I pounded on the front door.
Mom.
I need help. Silence. I hit the door harder, crying now.
Please.
I think something's wrong. The baby, Mom, please. After a long moment, the door creaked open. My mother stood there in her robe, arms crossed. What now? She sighed, like I was an annoying mosquito buzzing around her ears. I'm bleeding, I gasped. Something's wrong. Please call someone. She looked me up and down. Her lip curled. Then she said, You'll be fine. It's probably just stress. You always overreact. And just like that, she closed the door in my face. I dropped to my knees. Every part of me screamed, but my voice came out small. Help me, someone, please. That's when I saw a shadow move from across the street. It was Mrs. Blake, my neighbor, the one with the little dog. She was still up, watering her plants. She saw me, slumped on the lawn, soaked in blood, and she ran over. Oh my God, she gasped. Sweetheart, are you alone? Hold on, I'm calling 911. The next minutes were a blur. Sirens. Flashing lights. Hands lifting me onto a stretcher. I remember one EMT whispering, She's full term. Let's move fast. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed. White walls. Beeping machines. And the steady rhythm of a baby's heartbeat on a nearby monitor. A nurse smiled down at me. Your baby's okay, she said gently. You had a placental abruption. It was serious. You're lucky your neighbor acted fast. I turned my face away and cried. Not because of the pain, but because the one person who should have cared the most didn't even call the ambulance. She closed the door and went back to bed. Like I was nothing. Like her own daughter bleeding on the lawn was a problem too inconvenient to deal with. Later that day, a social worker came in. She asked if I had a safe place to go once I was discharged. And I lied. I told her yes, because I couldn't go back there, but I also didn't want anyone dragging me home like some lost dog again. That night, alone in the hospital bed, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I wouldn't crawl back. I wouldn't beg anymore. I'd rather sleep under a bridge than ever knock on that door again. I looked at the monitor, watching my baby's heartbeat pulse steady and strong. I whispered, You're the only family I've got now. And I promise you, I will never let anyone make you feel like you don't matter. Because I had bled on that lawn. I had screamed for help. And I had survived it. But I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was done being their victim. After 3 nights in the hospital, I was cleared to leave. I didn't have a home to go back to. But Mrs. Blake, my neighbor, the same woman who saved my life, met me at the exit with a warm smile and a plastic bag of baby clothes. She said softly, I have a basement apartment. It's not much, but it's yours if you want it. No rent. Just help me around the house when you can. I could barely speak. All I managed was, thank you so much. And then I cried in her arms. Her basement was small. 1 window. A squeaky twin bed. Old paint peeling off the walls. But to me, it felt like a palace. No screaming. No judgment. No doors slammed in my face. Just peace. That first night, I slept with both hands on my belly, whispering prayers of protection over my baby. The next morning, I got to work. I found a can of pale yellow paint in Mrs. Blake's shed and used an old brush to paint one wall. Then I printed out pictures of flowers and animals and taped them up near the bed. I found a secondhand crib on Facebook Marketplace. It cost $30. I used money I'd earned from doing online surveys. Tiring, slow work, but it gave me a sense of control. Like maybe, little by little, I was building something of my own. Mrs. Blake gave me one drawer in her kitchen to keep my things. She made me tea in the evenings. She never asked questions, never judged. She just let me be. One day, while cleaning out a box from my old backpack, I found the journal with the torn ultrasound photo still inside. I looked at it for a long time. Then I framed it and placed it above the crib, a symbol of everything we had survived. That same week, I found a flyer at the library. Scholarship opportunity for single mothers. Tell your story. It asked for a short essay, just 1,000 words. The prize? A full year of support and mentorship, plus the chance to speak on a local TV segment about overcoming hardship. I felt something stir in me. I sat down that night and wrote the whole thing in one go. I didn't use names. I didn't have to. I wrote about the hose, the porch, the blood,
The door.
I titled it, Unseen Doesn't Mean Unworthy. As I wrote, I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just let the words pour out, because for the first time, I wasn't writing to be heard by them. I was writing for me, for my baby, for the version of me who thought pain was all she deserved. I sealed the envelope and dropped it into the mailbox. And as I walked back to the basement, I felt lighter. Not because everything was fixed, but because I had finally stopped begging to be chosen. I was choosing myself. The day my baby was born, the world felt brand new. He came early but strong. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and lungs that filled the whole room with his cry. I named him Leo, because even though life had tried to make me small, I wanted him to grow up knowing he came from a mother who fought like a lion. Mrs. Blake was waiting when I got home. She had made a sign from construction paper that read, "Welcome home, baby Leo." I cried more that day than I had in months, but they were happy tears. The kind that come when you realize maybe you do deserve good things. Weeks passed, and I found a rhythm. Late nights, diaper changes, feeding, and between naps, I wrote. I kept adding pages to that original essay. Not for a contest, just for me. I wrote about sleeping on concrete, about cold water, about silence louder than screams. I wrote about pain, and rising anyway. One morning, as I rocked Leo to sleep, I got an email. Dear Ms. Martin, congratulations. You've been chosen as the winner of our Single Mother Writing Scholarship. We were deeply moved by your story. We'd like to feature you in our next televised segment, Invisible Daughters, Stories from the Shadows. Please confirm your availability. I stared at the screen. Was this real? I ran to Mrs. Blake and read it out loud. She hugged me and whispered, "You've always had something to say. Now the world gets to hear it." The studio was nothing like I imagined. Bright lights, cameras, microphones clipped to my shirt. But what scared me most was not the setting, it was the voice inside me saying, "You're not supposed to be here." But I looked down at the baby in my arms, and I remembered the girl who bled on the lawn, who curled up under porch lights, who begged through a locked door. And I sat up straighter. They introduced me as Emma Martin, single mother and writer. I took a deep breath and read a part of my story. She told me dogs don't deserve beds. But what I needed wasn't a mattress or a blanket. I needed love. I needed to know I mattered. I begged for kindness and was handed shame. I was told I was invisible. But I am not. I am here. And my son will never have to wonder if he is seen. When I finished, there was silence. Then a long, deep clap from the audience. A few women had tears in their eyes. And I knew then, this wasn't just my story. It was theirs, too. The next morning, my phone exploded. Messages. Emails.
Shares.
Thousands of people watched the segment. Hundreds sent messages of support. But 3 texts made my stomach turn. One from Natalie. Was that really about us? You're unbelievable. One from Mom. You think you're a victim? Keep crying on TV. That's all you're good for. And one from a number I hadn't saved in years, Derek. I saw your story.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Your mom said you didn't want me in your life. I believed her.
I didn't reply.
Not to any of them, because it wasn't about them anymore. It was about me, Leo, and the truth. Later that night, as I rocked Leo in his little thrifted crib under the painted yellow wall, I whispered, "We did it, baby. We spoke our truth." And this time the world listened. It's been over a year since that TV segment aired. And life? It's still hard sometimes, but it's mine now. Leo just turned 1. He took his first steps last week, right in the middle of our tiny living room. He wobbled toward me like a little penguin, arms wide, giggling with every step. I cried. Then I laughed. Then I cried again. We still live in the same cozy basement apartment. The yellow wall is now covered in handprints and crayon scribbles. There's a stuffed lion in every corner. And the crib? It's been replaced with a toddler bed, small, soft, and covered in silky blue sheets. And right next to it is a plush little dog bed. For our rescue dog, Scout.
Yeah.
I adopted him 3 months ago. Scout was found tied to a fence outside a gas station. Abandoned. Unwanted. Just like I was. But when I saw him at the shelter, shaking, skinny, but still wagging his tail, I knew. He belonged with us. Now he sleeps in silk, right next to Leo. Sometimes Leo curls up beside him. They nap like brothers. And every time I see them like that, I hear my mother's voice echo in my head. Dogs don't deserve beds. And I smile. Because in this house, we don't treat the broken like trash. We hold them closer. I haven't spoken to my mom since the day I saw her name flash across my phone after the broadcast. She sent a voice note once. I didn't even open it. Natalie posted something vague online about jealous people who write fake sob stories for attention. It didn't matter. People knew. Truth has a way of shining, even when others try to bury it. My story? It kept growing. That essay became a full book. Self-published. Unseen doesn't mean unworthy. It's not a bestseller or anything, but it's been passed hand to hand between shelters, support groups, women starting over. And that means more to me than any review ever could. One of the local bookstores asked me to speak at a small reading event last weekend. They handed me a mic and said, "Just share what matters." So I stood up, looked at the crowd, and ended with this. My mom said dogs don't deserve beds. But I disagree. Because what we all deserve is safety, warmth, and someone who sees our worth before we're cleaned up, fixed, or acceptable. My son sleeps soundly every night. So does our dog. And me, for the first time in a long time, I sleep in peace. I walked off stage to quiet applause. Not loud, not wild, but real, honest. And that's more than I ever got in the house I used to call home. Later that night, I tucked Leo into bed, kissed his forehead, and watched him reach out in his sleep, his tiny hand resting on Scout's soft fur. And I thought, this is the life I built from the pieces they tried to break. I have a box under my bed. It's small, wooden, scratched up from moving so many times. Inside are letters. Dozens of them. Some to my mom. Some to Natalie. One to Derek. And a few just written to the girl I used to be. I never sent any of them. But I couldn't throw them away either. They were pieces of me, pieces I had to let out so they wouldn't rot inside. One letter starts, "Mom, I begged you to love me. I tried to earn it, but love doesn't need to be earned." Another says, "Natalie, you always thought you were better. Maybe Mom made you think that. But deep down, I think you knew I was stronger." And the one I read the most? It's to myself. You survived. That's enough. You don't need to explain. You don't need them to understand. You lived through fire and built shelter from ash. You are not what they said you were. You are not broken. You are becoming. Tonight, after Leo fell asleep, I opened the box and read through each one. Then I took them out to the backyard. I lit a candle. One by one, I fed the letters to the flame. They curled, turned black, and disappeared into smoke. It didn't feel like erasing the past. It felt like releasing it. I don't need to send those letters anymore. I don't need them to hear me, because I hear me now, and that's enough. As the last letter turned to ash, Scout nudged my hand. Leo stirred in his crib, let out a soft sigh, then settled again. The night was quiet, still, peaceful. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "We're okay now." And for the first time in a long, long time, I believed it.